What the hell?
You can get you a copy if you read it. I'm sure.
I'd pull it up for you, but it's telling me my password's wrong. Did they change me? Maybe you got mad at me. That was me. Oh my,
Well-
I just locked myself.
I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's special meeting of the Guymon City Council. Let me remind you, if you're in attendance and haven't signed the roll call book over there, or the attendance book, please sign in, so we'll have a record of everybody that's here. Not this meeting. So, with that, I'll call this meeting to order. Agenda item number 2 is attendance roll call.
Peterson,
Here.
Swager,
Here.
Alvidrez,
Present.
Setzer,
Present.
Sanchez,
Present.
Hoffman. Here. Mr. Petty,
Here.
Mr. Dunham.
Present.
Okay, agenda item number 3 is discussion of projected 2022 revenues. Revenue information is attached, so Mr. Dunham.
Well, and I just handed a new form out to you with some revised updates for this evening. Right now, our projected budget revenues are going to be about $46.6 million. That's an increase from the 2021 budget of about $14 million. Those increases are due primarily because of potential loans that we will, loan revenues we will be receiving, and the ARPA grant funds we will be receiving. And I don't expect to receive any of those funds until after the beginning of 2022. I do revise these numbers on a monthly basis, and I will continue that until we present a budget to be approved. As we go through it, the only thing that I've got a lot of increases on, or got any increase on, we're going to see a little bit of increase in taxes, about $3 million. We are seeing increased tax revenue, and that is a reflection of about a 5% growth in sales tax. It's going to be a little bit less than what we actually anticipate receiving this year, because we received some one-time monies this year that raised that estimate up, or raised that actual up for this year. Intergovernmental, of course, that's increased significantly. That would be the loans, that would be the grant money that we receive and such as that. Our charges for services, which is primarily utility rates, we're about $600,000 budgeted less than what we budgeted for last year. Just looking at what we've actually been running, we're running a little bit behind. So that budget number reflects that, but again, I will say I do monitor this on a monthly basis and make those adjustments on a monthly basis. So that's a moving target right now. Fines and forfeitures, we're seeing a little bit of an increase. Licenses and permits, a little bit of an increase. Interest income, About $2,000 within where we were at for the budget this year. Miscellaneous revenues, we're about $200,000 less than what we budgeted last year. And then transfers right now, we haven't really got to because we're still finalizing the expense numbers to see what needs to be transferred around. So there hasn't been anything plugged into that to speak of. And that's just kind of an overview of the projected revenues that I've got for 2022 as of today.
On that loan revenues, what is it for the meters? What were they? What is it?
Well, we're looking at about $3 million for the meters. We're looking at, I've got estimated in about $3.5 million for the water tower. I've got, we're looking at, as you know, we're going to look at trying to buy some property. I've got about $4.5 million for that, which is a swag at that number. We don't, we do not know what that'll be at this point. And we're still working on the final design for the police station, but I've got that number plugged in at about $3 million.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? Input?
I don't have any.
So do you want to move to item 4, Joe Don, or?
Yes, I'll be happy to do that. Item 4 is here as for us to start a discussion to see whether or not we want to look at rate increases. The CPI published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics is at about 3% right now. Well, for the first half of the year, it's at 3%. As we've moved into the second half of the year, that number monthly is raising by about 5%. We haven't done a rate increase since 2018. And really what I was just kind of opening the discussion up with city council members tonight to see if this is a way we want to go, because if this is a path we want to go down, there will be a lot of work we need to do on it to make projections, because we will want those projections figured into our budget next year. And if it's not a route we want to go down at this time, I understand. If we don't want to go down that route, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. So really, I just trying to get some discussion started. And if it's something that y'all want to think about at this time and get back with me as we meet individually over the next couple of months, that's fine too. I just kind of want to start with a discussion right now and plant the seed, so to speak.
So what would the 3%, we did it across the board 3%, would that be for all utilities? Is that what you're proposing?
What that 3% is, the way I've got it figured in, at the tiered rates, it's a 3% increase for the tiered rates. The base rate for most of our utilities is between, for water, it's 0 to 3,000 gallons is figured in at the base rate. There's no increases in any of the base rates. My thought process behind that is that the people that were on the lower end of the spectrum, the people that were on fixed incomes and things such as that, they would not be hit with a rate increase. The same would be for the gas charges. The fixed charges are set. It does reflect a increase in the I'm gonna say this wrong, but the per unit cost for gas does reflect a 3% increase with the numbers that I have provided here. I would really be hesitant to recommend anything larger than 3% at this time if we wanted to look at that. But I think there are several other rates that we need to look at that are not reflected in this. And they may be a little bit more palatable in such as fines, police fines. Have not been able to locate the last time we had police fine increases. And that may be something we would want to look at. Building permits. We are way under the market for other communities. I hate judging that I hate judging us for rates on to other communities. It kind of gives us an idea, but every community is a little different. And we ought to be judging that based on our costs to operate those services. And there's some rates for, there's some things that I think we ought to look at as far as charges for services that we charge nothing for right now, such as limb pickup and trash pickup when people need it picked up at their house and we haul it out to the transfer station for them, and things such as that. Not saying we need to increase those rates right now or we need to be charging for those services, but we need to be, I think it would be in our best interest to at least just look at those and discuss them and compare what it's costing us right now to provide those services. Because it does cost the city of Guymon to provide those services.
On the building permits, we're going by square footage? Is that,
Right now, I think Sheila is our,
We have a base, so most of our stuff is like 800 foot, square meter under is a set rate, and then everything additionally is like 24 cents a square foot. So yes, sir, it's kind of both, but yeah, we base it on square footage. And we are under the market by like 47%, I think is the last number when we checked. And then there's additional things that we should be charging for that we don't. So it's just to even cover the cost of like our building inspector or myself going out there to actually do the inspections. Most of the first one is wrapped up inside the permit, but any additional or subsequent after the second one. We do charge for a second one, but we also get called after hours. Even with code enforcement, we get called after hours, a lot of times on the weekends, or having to be here early. Mostly it's usually late in the afternoon. Having some of those fees and sticking to them, I think would help increase, not just that, but having them call ahead of time for the 24 to 48 hours to make those inspections would also deter them from calling last minute and wanting to run out there.
Joe Don, I received a couple of calls, and
Yes, sir.
it was mainly water usage, and you have touched on that, and I know we are summer. We've made it through mostly, and a couple of the questions I received was, you touched on it a little bit, the tiered pricing for water usage, and looking at your stats there, it was mainly complaints on the industrial side, and I would go as far as to say not anger, but just the thought of an increase across some people's mind, that why would they be having to pay for something that if they are on a tiered, if we're on a tiered program, then that shouldn't be raised, but you touched on that they wouldn't, right? If it stays under a specific amount.
Right. If they are, right now, I don't believe our industrial rate is tiered very much, if at all. And to my knowledge, we've got one major industrial customer. I have not looked to see, or I have not been able to locate to see if we have a contract with that industrial customer that sets their rates. I have not been able, if there is a contract, I do not have that located yet. And that's the way a lot of those big companies handle that.
You know, with,
But,
with everything we talked about, trying to do water conservation, trying to keep our wells up to spec, you know, without water, we're not gonna be out here. I mean, that's the truth of the matter.
And right now, we're looking at an estimated estimated $8 million in nothing but water improvement projects for next budget year that we'll have to go out for a loan for. It'll be long-term loans, but that gets, the one that'll get us additional, that gets us an additional 1.3 million gallons estimated in storage, and at least gets the property purchased for, or where we are looking for some property to purchase, trying to get that purchased next budget year for the development of a new well field. One of the things we've got to look at also, as far as that is concerned, is that just gets the property purchased. We've got to get that tied into our system. I mean, that well field development is realistically probably a 5-year project, tiered out. First, you get, to get the water, get the land, get the line built, and then start improving the property to get wells on it.
What are we looking at as far as the line? What's that gonna cost us?
Estimates right now, just rough estimates, roughly 2.5 million.
We're still gonna have that usage. I mean, if anything, it's gonna increase. So
Well,
could we investigate some water conservation efforts with this higher industrial user of water?
I think we need to be investigating that for every customer. I mean, our aquifer is not going to, it's common knowledge that our aquifer is depleting.
Right.
It's not recharging as fast as we are using it. In the Oklahoma, Texas panhandles, we need to be looking at conservation efforts across the board.
I agree.
I'll be honest with you, the 3% you're talking about, I'm a little concerned about that because we were discussing the new water meters and the meters.
Yes, sir.
And didn't we figure they're probably gonna see at least a 5% increase?
Yes, sir,
So,
from usage.
yeah.
And that's the reason I'm telling you, I'm okay with not, I'm honestly okay with not doing a rate increase this year because of some things that we don't know yet. And there's some anticipated increases that we think may be out there. I mean, we've got roughly 130 new homes being built that will increase our water usage and our gas usage and things like that. But I think we need to at least start that conversation, whether it's this year or whether it's next year. We need to be having that conversation
No, I
with us internally to see exactly what we've got going on. I'm not, right at this point in time, I'm not advocating for a rate increase, but I am advocating for us to have the discussions on one.
and I appreciate the report, but this is something that we need to do yearly.
Exactly.
If not twice a year.
Exactly.
to
It
visit
is
it.
something that needs to be done at least at a minimum yearly.
Well,
Sorry.
in this, I think everybody's, I know most of our city employees that are sitting out there, when you guys go buy pipe fittings at Wertz's, or you buy anything, or weed eater twine, or whatever, everything's gone up in the last year.
Yeah.
And we've got to maintain some levelness on the amount of money we spend to offer these services. It's no different than running your own home, but it's just a larger scale. And if we don't start planning and working towards getting the water that we've talked about and other things, but we can't continue to rob Peter to pay Paul. We've got to start paying for the things that we're providing. And also put some money back for further improvements on infrastructure that needs to be fixed. It's a tough call, because all five of us get to pay the bill just like everybody else.
Yeah. And that's exactly right. I mean, when I talk about rate increases, I'm talking from the manager of the city. If we do it, I pay those increases the same as everybody else. These guys out here pay the same increases everybody else pays.
I think
we're
it's
not exempt from that.
It's definitely inevitable that we're going to have a rate increase sometime. It couldn't have come at a worse time to have this discussion, though, because of what's coming October 12th, trying to get a bond issue passed. I think you bring up a good point with the new water meters coming. That's going to generate some better revenue. I mean, we haven't had those updated in, 15 years? So the old technology is going to give away to the new technology. New technology will have higher rates already as it is. With the 150 houses coming in.
But let's face it, it's never a good time to introduce a rate increase on.
No,
anything,
it's
right?
not. It never is. It
I mean-
never is. But it has to happen.
It does.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah.
Just,
We're
you're
behind.
right. At this time, it's.
Tracy, come up to the mic so we can all hear you. Come on, don't be shy.
It's a new man. Who is this guy? I don't recognize him.
And I appreciate what you're saying. We're expecting to get an increase, but new technology. So right now, I'm paying $23 for a gas index. That gas index, when we go to AMI, $135. So how many percent increase is that? How many times increase is that? You're right. It's going to cost to keep up with technology. I just wanted to point that out. You're pointing something out. I would like to point that out.
Yeah.
Our expenses are going to increase when we increase technology.
This is what the public needs to hear.
Absolutely.
It is.
I mean, you're going from that piece of, you need it. It's material that you need.
It is, and the conversation is another, because like he pointed out, Ogallala's all we got, and you said it, once Ogallala's gone, where are we? My dad told me when the water's gone, my property's worth 25 cents.
It's
Thank you,
true.
Tracy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think we ought to maybe keep it on, I hate to say the back burner, but we keep it in play, and, maybe not dedicate a tremendous amount of time to it, but at least keep
Well,
it.
and maybe maybe what we'll do is investigate some of these charges that are, what increases need to be, that, fines, police fines, for example, for bad behavior. If we increase those rates, don't behave badly, you won't get charged for them. And maybe we need to investigate the difference between, because I haven't done a real cost comparison between what our cost is to provide code enforcement and those type of expenditures. And maybe we should focus more on that side of it and not the rate side of it at this time.
Well, that could be added as well, but I agree.
And then there are some services that we've talked about for sanitation and things like that, hey, do a comparison saying this is what it's costing us to provide that service. We can and we're not getting any revenue off of it. And maybe it's time we start charging for that service because of what it cost us.
Yeah, and also the trash pickup. I mean, people put mattresses out there and then magically they're gone in a couple weeks. So that probably should be paid for.
Yeah, and that's the thing we're talking about. I mean, people will throw, our trash containers are for, in our alleys are for household trash. The trash people throw wood, limbs and things like that back there. Our trash trucks, that tears our trash trucks up. We cannot pick that up with our trash trucks. We just spent $500,000 on new trash trucks. It tears those up. The mattresses, we can't pick those up in our trash truck. We have to go back and pick those up by hand and send crews out to do that.
And they're very active.
Yeah.
Those guys are very
Yeah.
active.
Yeah.
So maybe it's that side of it we need to be looking at today and for next budget year, and just maybe hold back a little bit on this other stuff, but we need to have the discussion every year.
Yeah,
I agree.
absolutely. Okay. Agenda item number 5 is discussion of the fiscal year 2022 to 2026 major projects.
Before we jump into this, I'd like to make a little bit of announcement that goes into this budget item, and it's more of a thank you and for stepping up and just, it's very, very awesome that the Nash Foundation has offered to put forth $500,000 for the irrigation system at the golf course. That's really needed, so that's something that can be worked into our budget, that money can be used for something else, if it was going to be allotted for the irrigation system at the golf course. But it's just a huge thank you to the Nash Foundation, to Mr. Petty and the Nash Foundation that came up with that, and it just, I think that takes a burden off the city, and I think it makes this this project a lot easier to complete, so thank you.
Yeah. Matching funds.
Matching funds. Thank you.
But one of the things that does, that matching funds, we were, in the plan is to do to split that irrigation system over 2 years.
Right.
The latter part of 2022, the first part of 2023. What that will allow us to do is to take that out of 2023 completely and get it done in the latter part of 2022.
Correct.
Do the whole thing. We would want to look at starting that particular project, after all of our tournaments are completed next year and things like that. But that would be my plan, at least for now. To kind of kick this off, I don't have all my numbers in yet for capital items for 2022. The list we have today that you have in front of you is a very aggressive list to get done. If funding is available for all of these projects, staff has assured me we can get all these projects finished in 2022. But this is a very aggressive list of things to get done. To put it in perspective, cost-wise, we have, let me get the right paperwork out here. We have roughly $40 million worth of capital projects here. over for 2022. It does have all of our big projects in there. It does, and again, a lot of about $12 million of this is loan dependent of these capital projects, but that's an increase of capital projects from what we budgeted this year of 12 million. So we've increased that by roughly $28 million. But again, we have some big projects. Just half of the golf course project was about 6.5 million. I'm sorry, $650,000, not $1 million, sorry. We've got the completion of the AMR, roughly $3 million. Construction of the new water storage tank. We're expecting estimates right now at about 3.5 million. We're estimating the police station at 3 million. We're estimating land purchase at roughly 4.8. We've got relocation of water lines that need to be done of about 4.5, or well, 450,000. Pivot system, 185,000. Fire engine, 520,000. Vehicles, roughly 250 to $350,000 for vehicles. Splash pad for the swimming pool, 175,000. Street repair, budgeting that again at $500,000. There will be a significant amount of equipment to buy, especially if we start buying equipment that would allow us to. No, I'm sorry, the numbers aren't there on the sheet that you have.
Correct.
I will make copies of this for everybody before y'all leave. We're looking at equipment to buy, well, just for the street department, we're looking at roughly, to do everything we want to do, $800,000. Really want to study that pretty hard before I make a recommendation to buy that, because as I've talked with the street superintendent Martin Hernandez out here, I have some reservations about being able to get, if we do an asphalt overlay on these streets, I have a reservation about being able to get that asphalt right now. The places that we would typically buy that run batch plants, are running batch plants on their schedule and not ours. For them to run the batch plant just for us, what was it? We were needing to buy about 100 ton at a time, over 100 ton at a time of asphalt. I don't know that we'll be putting down that much asphalt at a time. We might do that over a summer, but in just one fell swoop, that might be a stretch for us to do. So I really want to study that lesson hard before I recommend buying that equipment next year. I think some of the equipment we need to buy. A variable width chip laydown machine, I think we need to buy it. The asphalt zipper, I think we need to buy it.
Then the sweeper, do you need a sweeper with that?
We will ultimately need a sweeper with that.
And a water truck.
And a water truck, yes. So some of those things, yes, I think we're going to need to buy next year. That will allow us to get a lot further along than what we're able to do ourselves. next year than we did this year. I told everybody about the demonstration. We sent out videos of the demonstration. I told you where it was at. Have we done that armor coat yet on that street, Martin?
Sir?
Have we done that armor coat on Roosevelt or Railroad Street yet?
Yes.
So that street's completely capped now. I recommend going and looking at that. If doing a chip seal with the zipper and the product that we're looking at, that would be something, that would be the way we would look at that. We are buying some additional equipment this year to allow us to do seal coating and small batches of seal coats. And that type of repair, which is all standard repair products for streets. It's just not going to have the nice, pretty asphalt, black asphalt look to it. But in reality, 90% of our streets are chip seal streets. Yeah, today. So there's a lot of that equipment that we're going to need to buy, or some. You know, I think I'm going to estimate just the chip seal stuff. We're going to be spending probably about between the oil distributor and the lay-down machine, the variable width chip lay-down machine and things like, and the zipper, we're probably going to be looking at roughly $500,000 just for that side of it. So those expenses aren't going to be small. We're looking at roughly $125,000 worth of upgrades to our wastewater treatment plant. We're doing about $71,000 worth of it now, this budget year, but we've still got more to do. We need to be looking at the rehabilitation of about 1,000 feet of water line a year. Probably about 500 feet of sewer line. We are mandated by OCC, Oklahoma Corporation Commission, to rehabilitate and replace about 2,650 feet of steel gas line a year. Am I saying that correctly, Tracy? With poly, until we get all of our steel replaced with poly. So that's something that we're going to be doing for the next few years. Then we also have a full town gas leak survey to do next year, and then the following year after that, we've got to do the downtown area. And those happen alternate. The full town is every other year, correct, Tracy? Every third year, the full town is. We've already committed to about $330,000 worth of ambulance repairs. And that's on top of the $520,000 fire engine that they need. We're fortunate in that police station, our police vehicles aren't scheduled to be rotated out for another 3 years. Is that right, Michael? 2? Some of those aren't scheduled to be rotated out for a couple of years. We are going to look at rotating out the golf carts next year. In grand scheme of things, that's $10,000 or $15,000. Not a lot of, when we're talking about $40 million worth of things, the golf carts are not large in that scheme of it. But those are some of the items we're looking at to do just next year. The following years after that, I feel strongly that we need to have a plan for those follow-up years. And I've laid those out. At least, don't have cost on them yet, because they're 2 to 3 years out, 2 to 4 years out. But we've got the idea of what needs to be done. And, we did send this out a couple of different times. If everybody is happy with this plan, we will proceed forward with it. Now, I guess I answer any questions that you have. I've talked quite a long time about that, and I may not have answered any of your questions. I'm sorry.
This was, all this was discussed with your staff and
Yes.
ran through, and
Yes.
that's, you.
This
you introduced-
this list was developed with the staff that's sitting outside in that audience right now.
Confident to get it done 2021. What's left?
Yes, sir.
I like it.
We didn't talk too much about amenities. What sort of amenities are we looking at improvement-wise? I know we have the dog park still coming.
Dog park, we're gonna do this year. That, and the quotes came in excess of $50,000. So that would have made us, that has made us pull back on that project, because for us to contract it out, we would have to seal bid that contract. I've talked to staff. We feel like we can buy the material ourselves and construct that dog park ourselves, well within the donated money that we have for that project. So that's what we're going to do. We expect to have that project done by the end of November, is what our expectation is right now. Some of the other things that we haven't talked about, the improvement of parks. There's some of the day-to-day improvement that we need to do. The replacement of tin, repainting of gazebos, things like that, that's going to be built into our operational budget. But we are going to we do need to have a park master plan built so that we know how we need to build out Thompson Park, so that it can be used as a place for activities such as the 4B Fest that we're having here this weekend. Thompson Park would be a great place for that. But we don't have the park built out to accommodate that today. Like to be able to, have festivals like we did with the Fiesta Days a couple of weeks ago. Would have been great to have that down at the park. Not conducive for that at this time. So we need a plan to see how we're going, we need to plan on what needs to happen down there to hold those festivals and those events and others like them. And not limit ourselves there.
Right, 'cause-
and that's in the 2021 plan.
Yeah, that's the point I was making, because we can talk about all these other things, which are necessities. The
Yeah.
roads are a necessity. I mean, the water, the gas, it's all necessities. But what good is all these things when we don't have any amenities?
Right.
We're not keeping people in Guymon. We need to have not only amenities to keep people in Guymon, but then to also bring people to want to come and invest in Guymon.
And that, we are looking at building that park, what needs to happen to build that park out. There's several items here that we don't really have, that would be amenity related, that I don't have any good costs on. Replacing the water well at Thompson Park to help keep that watered. Replacing the sprinkler system at Apache Park to keep that looking nice. To get that parks master plan for all of the Guymon parks, to be able to have events and things like that. Those probably aren't 1 year, that's probably not a 1 year build out. We're probably looking at building that out in phases over the next 4 or 5 years. But until we have that plan to see what needs to be done, we don't know what, we could just be throwing money, good money after bad,
Right, right.
and not making any headway.
Right. Yeah, I think that's vital moving
yeah.
forward.
One
We have
of
to
the
keep that in the
things-
forefront of our mind.
Yeah, and one of the amenities that we're looking at is the golf course. That's open to the public. Anybody can go out there and use that golf course that wants to go use it. We're looking at doing a lot of upgrades to that golf course next year. I will say the one thing that's going to hold us back on doing 2022 projects as we sit here today is going to be funding. Because our funding is still fluid and will be. We're going to have, we've got to get some firm estimates on some of these other projects to do funding, because we've also got to be able to pay for the day-to-day things that we've got to pay for. Salaries, supplies, materials, equipment, repairs, all that stuff that is just built into our everyday, day-to-day budget. One of the things that we haven't talked to that will be built into our everyday budget, based on the conversations I've had with U5, is the things like we're looking at. We presented it once, but because of COVID, we decided to wait on it. But we're looking at representing the what we've called the BIG grant, the BIG grant, business improvement grant, to help downtown get revitalized on a cost share basis. We're going to look at representing that. We presented it during COVID, but we decided not to do it at that time. We decided that was not the opportune time to do that. As we're seeing a revitalization in our downtown and in our sales tax, maybe now is the time we should look at that to help get downtown revitalized. And those funds will repay themselves in sales tax and dividends. We'll get we're getting an event coordinator we still plan on having an event coordinator. We're putting the final touches still on that job description. By the end of this month, I expect to be advertising for that position, where that person is running to bring in events by next year. I know that position has been a long time coming, but we've been trying to study our lesson real hard on that to make sure that we are getting everything that we're needing for that position. We're looking at, there's some other things in this that we're starting this year to finish up next year. One of the things, personnel related, talking with the staff, really feel like we need about 3 or 4 people we will need about 3 to 5 people for a street construction crew, and 3 to 4 people for a water line construction crew, water and sewer line construction crew, gas line construction crew, to get those people in here and be where they are dedicated to do these replacements. Because right now, with the staffing that we have, current staff struggles to be able to dedicate people for these construction crews and still get the day-to-day leaks fixed that we've got to get fixed, or the day-to-day potholes filled that we need to get filled. and the day-to-day maintenance that we need to get done. So we're looking at maybe an additional 10 personnel just dedicated for those two projects.
All right.
Be happy to answer any other questions that you have, gentlemen, ladies.
Comments, questions?
I have a couple questions. When was the armor coat put on that street over there?
On Railroad? Martin, when did we finish that? Yesterday.
Oh, okay. How long is it gonna take to set, like, completely? Do you know?
Excuse me?
How long is it gonna take to set completely?
It should be,
Yeah. Because I think I went out there, I want to say yesterday, probably after you got done, and it was still kind of loose. Wanted to know if that's going to cause,
Because of the road that we have, it's not big enough to do that big of a project.
oh, okay.
So,
Yeah.
I got it with just a demonstration, so.
So-
With a road packet and stuff. And
We're-
once you get a big roller and then they'll do a better job.
yeah, our roller's smaller than what we actually need, so it doesn't do an effective job on that. So we will rely on just daily traffic to kind of
Just
get
set
that
everything
packed down. Probably within another week or two, we'll go back out there and sweep it. Correct, Martin?
It was done about 4 o'clock yesterday.
Okay.
I probably went out around 6, yeah.
It was
So we'll probably come, we should come back in there in another week or two and sweep that up and make that better. But with the correct equipment, we could have had it packed down and swept and done within a couple, well, probably wouldn't have had it done today, but by the end of this week, we would have it done.
On that event coordinator, are you said at the end of the month, are you saying the end of September, which is in a couple of
Yes.
days? Okay. Okay.
I want to be advertising for it in October. And I do have people interested in the position.
Good.
I think filling it will be pretty easy. I've been talking to people that are interested in the position.
Good.
We touched a little, and this is not a big item, but it kind of is, the entrances to the city. You know, we talked about putting some attention to detail in those areas.
Yes,
So I just wanted to add that on there.
that is a route, that's a day-to-day thing we're going to be doing. I've talked to staff on a couple of different occasions about needing to concentrate on the main thoroughfares. Those seem to be our problem. Not all of our problem area, but that's the first impression we get from Guymon. We need those looking good.
I agree.
Anything else? Anybody have anything else? All right. Thank everybody for coming. We will stand adjourned.
Thank you.
I will email you everybody out this spreadsheet that I've
you,
got.
sir.
It's not complete.